To return from the Democratic Republic of Congo and its camps and pretend that nothing has changed would be to betray whatever innocence I have left in me. It would extinguish part of the sun, some of the beauty of women. It would do away with love and the mini-skirts on Montreal streets in the spring. And yet, that's all we can do. Otherwise, everything dies. In order to walk the streets again, smile, behave like a normal person, you have to dip your hands in the crime of forgetting, playing along with those monsters who cannibalize humanity. And yet, despite this betrayal, despite the abandonment, everything dies all the same. And so you pretend, until the pretense turns into reality once more. Ever since Kabila's march to Kinshasa, the Congo, especially the eastern area, in the shadow of the Nyiragongo volcano, has been racked by war. And that war has left a trail of shards in its wake. Refugees, the internally displaced, and the camps that house them scattered throughout the region, especially in desolate areas. More than 500,000 internally displaced persons still languishing today. The crumbs of civilization. Mugunga 3, a small camp, 2,000 displaced persons. I just wanted to get a sense of things and head back. But you never completely come back from the camps. I saw the distribution of supplies, the lineups, the waiting crowd, their names yelled through megaphones, dignity parceled out by the bag, by the kilo, an unending exodus. Since '94, millions of internally displaced Congolese, relegated to empty, featureless landscapes, living worse than animals, under plastic tarps, wearing other people's worn-out clothes, our clothes. They're the flotsam and jetsam of the industrial era, human remains, the dregs of war who eat leftovers, who live on scraps of land, wear other people's leftovers, leftover humans who lick the plates of abundance, seagulls of the dumps, lost children with sunken eyes, their feet infected by garbage and broken glass. They all have the same look, the same gleam in those sunken eyes. A fierce life force in spite of their infected feet, hunger, and humiliation. The will to live and to go home one day, somewhere, anywhere, to a place they can call their own. Who cares if they've never seen that land? It isn't these plastic bags or this tent made from rags or this frayed tarp. It's their home, somewhere other than this hellhole.
We pretend. We wait for the next handout, our teeth and fists clenched. And we seize any occasion to laugh, or at least smile. And if possible, to forget. To spit in the face of death for a fraction of a second. We drink in the sunlight. We fill our eyes with it before the volcano growls again. Each detail that can push back the nightmare, each moment stolen from the horror, each gentle breeze serves as our country, our home.